Author J.K. Rowling is back in the news again after a podcast with Jon Stewart drew some unwanted attention towards the characters that she chose to run the Gringotts Wizarding Bank in Harry Potter. The podcast with Jon Stewart was from over a month ago, but recently it started trending again on Twitter after some media outlets misconstrued what Jon was saying. During his podcast called The Problem with Jon Stewart, Jon had pointed out the similarities between the goblin race in Harry Potter and the long-standing dangerous stereotypes of Jewish people. On the show, he said that when talking to people, he'll often say, "Have you ever seen a Harry Potter movie? Have you ever seen the scenes in Gringotts Bank? Do you know what those folks who run the banks are? Jews." Adding, "Let me show you this. It's the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. I just want to show you a caricature," and they're like, "Oh, that's from Harry Potter." And you're like, "No, that's a caricature of a Jew from an anti-Semitic piece of literature." He then went on a little more about sitting in the theater and being blown away that J.K. Rowling would choose these goblin-like characters to run the banks in the wizarding world. He adds, "It was one of those things where I saw it on the screen and I was expecting the crowd to be like, holy sh*. Rowling did not, in a wizarding world, just throw Jews in there to run the effing underground bank." Now, this conversation about J.K. Rowling and Harry Potter was not the center focus of the podcast. They only arrived at this topic and began joking about the ridiculousness of the characters after Jon's co-host made a funny Harry Potter reference. However, with the Harry Potter reunion being in the news a lot and Rowling's propensity to get into beef with woke Twitter, multiple media outlets started running headlines that said, "Jon Stewart accuses J.K. Rowling of anti-Semitism in Harry Potter." But in response to this claim by news, Jon Stewart replied with, "No, I didn't." And Jon Stewart then later had to come out and explain that he was not actually calling J.K. Rowling anti-Semitic. In a video posted to Twitter, he said, "I have to address this. This is bonkers, guys. I do not think J.K. Rowling is anti-Semitic. I did not accuse her of being anti-Semitic. I do not think the Harry Potter movies are anti-Semitic. I really love the Harry Potter movies, probably too much for a gentleman of my considerable age." And just to make sure that the media didn't mess up the story again, he added, "I cannot stress this enough. I am not accusing J.K. Rowling of being anti-Semitic. She need not answer to any of it. I don't want the Harry Potter movie censored in any way. It was a lighthearted conversation. Get an effing grip." And Jon's main point was that a lot of these tropes are so embedded in society that they're hard to miss in certain contexts. But the media couldn't help but run the story hoping that others would join in on the outrage. However, from what I've been seeing online, J.K. Rowling has only been getting support. Julia Lenar's director of social media at the American Jewish Committee tweeted out, "J.K. Rowling has been a loyal friend of the Jewish community and a vocal ally in the fight against anti-Semitism. Disingenuous attacks on her do nothing to combat Jew hatred." With another adding, "The idea of trying to find hidden messages in a movie and projecting that onto J.K. Rowling to say that a woman who's been a consistent ally of the Jewish community is anti-Semitic is patently absurd. I wholeheartedly reject this." I'd love to hear your thoughts on all this though, because that's all the time that we have for today. So stay classy, and I'll see you in the next one.